have here the ministerial level liaison committee. This is the upper body, but what I would like to stress here, what is important to stress here is actually how Tanzania has benefited to this structure on SADCAS, the SADC accreditation system. Since it was decided that we have to use in accrediting our processes, we need to use the SADCAS. Tanzania has complied fully on this, and we have laboratories in Tanzania that have been accredited through the SADCAS. And of course, we have our colleagues from Weights and Measures agents who participate in SADC MEL work. And we also participate, as I've said, we have the metrology laboratories. So we participate under SADC cooperation in measurement for traceability. And of course, we have SADC STAN, and here is the function where we harmonize the SADC standards. And we have the SADC TBT expert group that advises SADC Secretariat on standards and quality matters. So at this point in time, I would like to stress that we participate fully as a Bureau of Standards on SADCA, SADC STAN, and SADC MET. Now, proceeding with the same, we understand that under the SADC TBT cooperation structures, there are different technical committees. And we have, Tanzania actually participates in 16 technical committees. And so far, we have adopted 30 standards. 30 standards are harmonized under the SADC structures. We all understand that there are a lot of challenges with regards to funding the harmonization process, participation in the harmonization process, and that's why you can experience sometimes low rate of harmonization because of different challenges. But of course, as we are talking now, if we move from the regional economic communities, like EAC SADC, we have now the COMESA EAC SADC tripartite, and now we have the African Continent Free Trade Area Agreement. And under these structures, we're actually going not to refer on these standards developed by the regional economic communities, but the TBT and the SPS documents under these agreements are going to refer to the ARSO standards. These will be standards applicable to the whole of Africa when implementing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, as we all know now. Therefore, we might be discussing on how we strengthen harmonization, conformity assessment activities in the region, but of course, taking cognizance of what is happening now at the continental level. As I've said, we participate fully in accreditation, and under this structure, Tanzania Bureau of Standards is a focal point on the accreditation issues in the country. So we coordinate, we administer, promote, and we market accreditation within the country. And we all know the importance of accreditation, that when tested once, it is accepted everywhere. Then we have a number of laboratories that have been accredited under the same scheme, and we provide for PT proficient testing for salt, honey, juice, and fertilizer, and of course, for the visibility of this accreditation, we always make sure that we have forums like the World Accreditation Day being celebrated accordingly to add value to accreditation issues. And of course, we have metrology issues, as I stated, and we have managed also under this to benefit a lot from the codex structures and metrology issues. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude by saying that, yes, in this process, as I highlighted in my presentation, that there are some challenges in this process. One of them, as I said, is the funding to participate, for members to participate in the standards harmonization work. Slow pace of adoption of harmonized SADC standards. We understand most of the work is done electronically. Now, reaching consensus on technical work needs some physical encounter so that to ensure that that consensus which is needed in the standards development process and the standard harmonization process is achieved. So there are also slow progress in the harmonization and the adoption of technical regulations, but of course the language barriers. We understand that SADC has 3 languages, English, French, and Portuguese. And sometimes, in most cases, most of the standards are in English language. They need to be translated into other languages. And then we can see we still have fewer standards that have been translated to other languages. So, having said this, I would like to stress that Tanzania is very committed to this process within SADC on the implementation of the SQUAM activities. And we appreciate for everyone being here this morning to attend this session. Thank you very much, Coordinator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lazaro, for highlighting us the importance of standard and quality. We are talking about industrialization, so we cannot industrialize without standard, without following quality principles. And Mr. Lazaro has highlighted how this happened and what is the quality framework that we have in our region. So this is good for us, so that if we embark on the industrialization, we know how to proceed. Of course, we cannot industrialize and produce goods without following standards and without complying with the quality. So at this point, I would like to call Ms. Dr. Abhishek Rajan. Am I correct or? Yes. From Bolt University in Lesotho, he will be sharing with us how they have implemented quality management system in the university. Dr. Rajak, you have 10 to 15 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Honorable Minister. Good morning, delegates, once again. I am here to present about a very distinct feature of quality assurance, how it applies in education sector. We all know that education sector is a highly regulated sector. There are bodies under Ministry of Education and others which helps you regulate the whole sector. However, we as an institution have also chosen to go towards the quality assurance system, and we have chosen to go for ISO 9001:2015, and we have been certified for almost 8 years now, successfully maintaining it. And so, so my presentation will be basically on quality assurance and standards towards improved customer satisfaction. When I say customer, it involves every stakeholder that we have. And so how I will be going is I'll be taking you through the quick theory a bit. I won't bore you with the theory, but it's important to know quality. When we come and talk about quality, there are many times when we don't understand what quality means, and I'll then take you through how the quality is taken for us and as an institution, and what are the challenges that we have had in past when we were trying to implement it, and perhaps also what can be generalized, which can be implemented with any other institution, not only education. The challenge and also the assessment. There is a difference between quality assessment and quality assurance, and so we will talk about that. What is the role of standard, and also why it is important to have our internal quality assurance angle looked after. Because when we depend on an external quality assurance people, they come once in a while, but who looks after it all the time is internal. And also, what's the Boto University, when you see BU there, Boto University Quality Assurance Framework is, and how do we use it in our every functions that we perform at the university. Right, so basically quality, as we all know, I'm not going to go into the definition, is for people who are interested to read, but basically quality is fit for purpose. Quality, what it means to me may not mean to you, and what it means to you may not mean to me. There are some time when we will not agree on quality, but quality is fit for purpose. What fits me is what I feel is quality. And also, it's about making sure that quality is what it should be, which means if I am looking for something, I should be ensuring that it fits my purpose. And so moving on to the next, which then talks about how. This how part is very important for all of us. It's important because we, at many instances, think that quality is one of the aspects of what we do at our respective organization. We don't feel the same way, because if we feel that the quality is one of the aspects, it will become a side job. It will become one of the pillar and not the center. So for how we implement quality, we feel that the quality should be center for everything. Whatever you do, irrespective of how you interact with people, how you perform your functions, how each department relates with each other, everything should be focused and geared towards quality. And so it says here, built by design, quality by design, so which means built in quality. How do we also implement it? So when we say make quality a center, how do you implement it? You implement it because it has a lot of other factors on which this depends. So it's a dependable variable. It depends on man, it depends on functions, it depends on machines that you use in industries, various factors, and I'll cover that in the next slide in detail. And quality is there to provide service. Why do we look at quality? Because it's a minimum quality assurance that you provide to your stakeholder, whoever you deal with, that when you come and deal with me as a company, as an institution, you are going to be guaranteed to get at least this minimum service. And so for us, it was important because we are dealing with a set of people who are student, who is going to help many things, help the industry in future, help the country in future. So we had to provide them at least a minimum guarantee that, when you come in, you will always be getting at least this service. And if you don't get it, you have an internal mechanism where you can raise it and you will be attended to. And that guarantee comes if you have built the quality into your system. And if we have that, that is the only time when we can see that you have been adequately assured about your quality assurance, and you constantly give them the service which they deserve. And now, when I said quality as a dependable variable, you will look at that. There are multiple factors. If you look at this, you will be seeing man, material, methods, and this is very theory part. But if you look at from your perspective, and you forget the theory for a moment and look at from your perspective, how does it help you? The first thing that when we talk about quality, the people say we don't have adequate resources to meet the quality requirement. We need more resources. What are we talking about? Are we talking about resources in terms of funding? Are we talking about resources in terms of manpower? Are we talking about resources in terms of environment that we are in? Or are we talking about resources in terms of the materials and machines that we use? It can be anything. But for you to implement quality, you need to have all your factors sorted out. And that's what we do at our place. If we go to the next slide, you will realize that when we say built into the system, what do we say? We simply mean that system is nothing but an interconnection of everything that we do. So wherever you go, you are not found to be alienated from others. You will still see them practicing it. So one department to other. In a university cycle, if you see how the student walks in, the whole life cycle of students starts from admission till the graduation and thereafter being an alumni. And so when you get into the system, when you go to admission, they tell you one thing, and when you go to the student registry, they tell you another thing. You are not pleased as a customer. And so the thing that will bring consistency is how you practice it. So there is a flow, there is continuity between all of these departments, and that's where the system part comes in. I put two words, which were 2-3 lines there, which was spoken by well-known people, Deming, Salk, and Bertalanffy. I'm not able to pronounce it properly, sorry for that. Now, what else? Look at this design. We have seen it many times. It's called PDCA. There is something that we know. Wherever you go, they talk about PDCA. So what is new in it? Nothing new. But there is a problem. Most of the time, as an institution, as a company that you deal with assurance. The first thing that we do, okay, this is what the standard requires. Let's see if we have done it or we haven't done it. So you jump to the assurance part. You forget that there is an importance of planning. There is an importance of implementation. Only if you have planned and implemented, then only you can look after the assurance. Assurance becomes automatic if you have planned and implemented. And that's where the major problem is. And so there are two types of challenge that I'm going to pick up here. There are multiple, but I have picked up two important parts. And one of those is here, the first challenge. We talk about assurance, we don't talk about planning and implementation. The moment we talk about assurance and not planning and implementation, we are in the gray area. Which gray area? We don't know what we are planning for, we don't know what we're implementing for, but we are trying to meet the requirement of whichever standard that we are being aligned to. If we talk about assurance in education sector, every quality assurance body will tell you that these are the set of standards that you should adhere to. And if they say that meet the requirement of bringing research papers, if you don't set up the relevant environment, relevant infrastructure for research, you can't meet that. But when we go for assurance, we say, okay, I have published few papers, we have some innovation done, some patent registered, we meet this criteria. Momentarily, not always, unless you make it as part of your day-to-day operations. So you see, I have just mentioned there is that danger of falling into the gap. And there is another challenge. Sometimes when we have people working on quality assurance not adequately equipped with the skills that they need, we may get into that situation where they don't really understand what the quality assurance should do. The next one is the second challenge. And the second challenge we'll talk about the major problem again that we have in the system. If we get into a meeting, how many meetings do we attend? How many times we sit together to find a solution and we walk out not having a solution? And that's the second challenge. You get into a meeting room, you get into a discussion, but you never reach a consensus. And whenever you don't reach a consensus, you get into a situation where there will be resistance to change. You say that this is the best way to do things, and you realize that it may not be the best way because the others are saying no. It may not be your problem. It is the problem of not being able to reach to a consensus. The discussions are not very focused. And if that happens, you will never be able to reach the objective of your organization, which is to be a quality-oriented organization. Then, once we have this two challenge, what do we do? Do we just leave it that way, or we do something about the quality assurance? What do we do? there is always a way out. You should follow a certain principle. So we decided as an institution that we will go for quality management system. And the quality management system talked about, we followed the ISO 9001 2015. When we started, it was ISO 9001 2008. And we decided to go that way because we thought if we don't make it as a center, we won't be able to succeed. So what we did is we went around and did every functions review into the system, got it into the written principles. What did it do? It brought first consistency. Everybody knew what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. Everybody knew what is going to be the action that they are required to do. So there was accountability, there was transparency, because you are now no more asking who is going to do that, and it was there already that who is going to do it, how they are going to do it. The other things that we looked at as, so once we have it, what is the framework that we should look at? And so when we were looking at the framework, okay, this is the follow through, the challenge, the key findings, the major causes, and the action that we took was to go for the QMS system. And we learned this, as I didn't mention that. These are our learnings. When we did the review with different departments, what did we learn? We have to put quality first. We wanted to link the quality assurance framework with the stakeholder. Our stakeholders are various people around and then meet the challenge of the second. How do we get into the situation where we don't get the no consensus meeting? We always reach an agreement. So agree, discuss, talk. Check if there is a clear relationship between QA framework and the needs. Implement the change. Change management is not easy, so implement the change, plan, implement, and do check, and act on that PDCA cycle. Stabilize, gain, and apply QA audits. Then we talked about, once we have done that, we went into this. So we have set up a standard. We have set up a framework for ourselves. How do we evaluate it? And there were two answers. One, you do it internally, and another one, you do it externally. So one that you are seeing here is the question that we have. If you have been successful, what do? You assess it. And that's where the assessment part comes. That's where the role of standard comes. Do we have any already existing system? If not, what do we do? And so, as I said, we moved on to the ISO thing. There are many others in educational institution, but we moved on with ISO series apart from others as well. And how did we fill the gap? This is how. We did fill the gap. Okay. Right. So how did we fill the gap? Here. Put more emphasis on quality pillars. Have the commitment from the top management. If you don't have a commitment from the top management, you can't move an inch, because all the resources, the dependable variables that we talked about should come from the top management. Have the innovation part looked after. Be customer focused. Have the full participation from every employee in the organization. If you have a set of people who are not agreeing to it, you will not have a full-fledged quality assurance system. And quality by design, not by prevention. Okay. So what was the wish that the top management had? The wish was the quality must be the heart of the system. If I'm committing to it, it should be the heart of the system. So the Vice Chancellor of Voto University made a wish, and it says it should always be at the heart of the system. So how did we do that? And I was fortunately at the center of the development during the time when this whole assurance thing was going on. So we came up with a BU quality assurance framework. Okay. And this is what we followed. We had first the leadership. We talked about strategy and policies, standards and stakeholders, student stakeholders and other stakeholders that we have, resources and partnership, people. And this is important. And all of these then are linked to the process. And once the processes are there, you have forms, registers, these are documentation that you generate. Why do we do that? It's because whenever you have something to review, you don't review on the basis of who is saying what, you review on the basis of the facts, and that helps you in improving your system. Okay. And here are some examples as how we did it. I've captured some major functions. It's not all. For you to be able to understand as an educational institution, we are mainly in doing education-related activities. So you will see here curriculum design and development, support services, quality management. I know it has gone very fast. Okay. And so these are some examples that we have. We have mentioned here, if you look at it, major functions, what are the tools that we use internally, and what are the assurance process that we use. So there is this function: plan, implement, and review. Right, so in conclusion, I would like to say that if you look at the two things that have been mentioned there, one thing that has taken us to where we are, and the context why we are here, is that last year we applied for ourselves for the award function that was there in Lesotho. Lesotho runs an annual quality assurance award function, so we submitted our application and we won it. And from there on, we went to SADC, SADC competition at the regional level, and we won it again, category 3 for service excellence. And so we have been testing our system against different opportunities that we get. And we have always been able to improve the system. We don't say that the system is 100%. You will always find an opportunity for improvement, but this is what has brought us the success. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Abisha. Actually, I should say that the company that we have here today, the criteria to be selected to be here, one of them was to run for Regional Quality Award that SADC Secretariat conduct every year. Before companies apply for Regional Quality Award, they do that in their respective countries, meaning that in all SADC countries every year, they organize National Quality Award, and the winner can apply for Regional Quality Award. So we brought here sample of those companies that won at the regional level. I would just like to announce the arrival of our last speaker, Mr. David Sakala, who just arrived this morning from Lusaka. Mr. Sakala, welcome. At this stage, I would like to invite Mr. Tonderai Maruf from Zimtrade, Zimbabwe, to share the experience.
Thank you. Good morning, delegates. Yes, the Minister of Information and Technology of Zanzibar, my fellow speakers, fellow delegates, all protocols observed. Once again, my name is Tonderai Marufu. I'm from Zimtrade, Zimbabwe. Zimtrade is Zimbabwe's national trade development promotion organization. Thank you. We work with exporters to energize Zimbabwe's export growth. I'm going to give you out a presentation which is going to talk about quality standards. Quality standards as a basis for excellence. I just want to share with you that the issue of quality standards is really at the heart of all our activities, such that we've actually coined a statement each morning when you are greeting one another at Zimtrade. We don't say good morning. We say quality at Zimtrade, and the person responding will actually say energizing Zimbabwe's export growth. So that is the beginning of how we are inculcating the culture of quality at Zimtrade. Right. My technology is failing. All right. So the nature of my presentation, that's just an outline of my presentation. I will talk about Zimtrade to say who is Zimtrade and how are we structured to be able to promote our exporters. Then I'll also talk, number 2, about the journey that we have traveled in terms of the implementation of quality awards, right? I'll also talk about the benefits that we have realized as an institution in terms of the implementation of quality awards and how that has benefited both the institution, Zimtrade, and as well as our exporters. I'll also talk about, lastly, the impact that has had on our clients or our exporters. All right, so who is Zimtrade? Like I said, Zimtrade is the National Trade Development Promotion Organization for Zimbabwe. The way we are constituted or we are set up, we are a unique joint venture partnership between the private sector and the government of Zimbabwe. So we are a partnership. We are set up in your typical PPP model, public-private partnership model, and that was done basically to enhance the organization's ability and flexibility to respond to the ever-changing dynamics of the export market. Our mandate basically is to energize Zimbabwe's export growth. So we are really at the center of Zimbabwe's exports. Our values, those are our values. Basically, we say as Zimtrade, we are focused, we are connected, we are trusted, and we are bold. That just spells our attitude in business. For example, when we say we are connected, we're basically saying that we have got a network of partners and stakeholders that we work with to ensure that we give the best service to our exporting clients. Our sales portfolio, this is basically spelling out what we do as Zimtrade. Number 1, we've got the market intelligence section. In terms of the market intelligence section, this is where we work with exporters and we provide them. Okay, all right. We work with exporters in terms of providing them with market information, market intelligence. We've got a fully fledged trade information center whereby an exporter can just walk in and on the click of a button, they can actually see across the world where export markets are available, what kind of products are in demand, as well as where they can actually get raw materials to be able to process their products for export. We also do other, disseminate information such as market pointers. We also provide with information relating to, how they can easily navigate a specific market. So it's basically market intelligence. Export development, there we identify, develop, and assist potential and existing exporters to be able for them to explore new markets. So it's basically nurturing them from day one up to the point where they are now able to enter into the export market. We also have export promotion section. In terms of export promotion, we facilitate the participation of companies in various regional and international trade promotion events. Right now, we've got 2 of our teams, one in Botswana at the Global Expo, another one is currently in Zambia. they are attending trade promotion events in those countries. And by so doing, companies are showcasing their products to buyers from across the world. And in that way, we're able to grow Zimbabwe's exports. In terms of advocacy, this is where we are a voice for the exporters, our clients. We work with the government, we lobby the government in terms of availing a conducive working environment, in terms of also assisting the ease of doing export business. So in a nutshell, those are our services. Right. I also want to talk about the journey that we've traveled. Since we are talking about the issue of quality standards, I would want to talk about the journey that we've traveled in terms of the issue of ISO certification. I've indicated that Zimtrade is certified to ISO 9001 of 2015, which is the latest in terms of that standard. We first got certified to ISO 9001 of 2008 in 1994. And we became the first TPO to be certified under that standard. And since then, we have retained that certification, which means we've been ISO certified for a continuous period of more than 20 years, under 9001 of 2008. In 2017, we became the first organization in Zimbabwe to be certified under ISO 9001 of 2015. And that just shows our commitment to the issue of quality standards. Right. I would now want to talk about the benefits that we've realized through the implementation of quality standards. Just want to talk about the practical things that are happening because of the implementation of quality standards. I'll start by looking inwards into a Zimtrade and then outwards, the impact on our clients. We have basically realized improved consistency of service provision, because if you are ISO certified, you are working according to a standard, right? And you know what is supposed to be done at what particular time. And therefore, it doesn't matter if you're an organization, if one employee is not there, the next employee can just come in and equally serve the client in much the same way, because you are applying a guided standard which is in place, and it's in your DNA. So we've actually seen that our sales provision has been consistent, and we've actually been getting feedback from our clients to say, okay, when you go to Zimtrade, doesn't matter what day, what weather, you still get the same kind of service that you deserve. We've also seen improved productivity and efficiency. The aspect of efficiency has actually gone up because of the ISO certification, because there's reduction in issues of rework. Because you've done the process according to a standard, your chances of getting it right the first time is always very high. We've also seen the issue of cost reductions. I've talked about the issue of reduction in reworks. Because reworks obviously come with a cost. It becomes clear that if you are ISO certified and you are following the given standard, you get your process correct. We've also seen improved communication. You'll see as I move forward, we've got sessions that we've created whereby we discuss or we share knowledge as Zimtrade in terms of how we can improve amongst ourselves. There's also been a tremendous increase in terms of development cooperation partners support. We are working with institutions such as the European Union, ITC Geneva, POOM of Netherlands, SES of Germany. These are institutions that we are partnering with because our relationship is improved because of our systems which are guided by standards, and DCPs want to work with such institutions. We've also seen the acceptance of the Zimtrade brand within Zimbabwe and beyond the region because of the issue of standards. Right. This is just to show you, in 2013, we approached the International Trade Center, Geneva. We are asking for an assisted benchmarking exercise under their AIM program, which is assess, improve, and measure. So in 2013, who were assessed by ITC Geneva in terms of the whole gamut of all our processes. And we scored a mark of around 30%, which was generally low. And then we entered their AIM program, where we worked with them in what we called the Performance Improvement Roadmap. And in terms of that improvement roadmap, we're supposed to be then assessed again in 2017, or rather 2018. But after going through that process, the process of assessing was actually reduced by 1 year, because they realized that Zimtrade was now ready for a second assessment. So in terms of that second assessment, that was the outcome of the assessment. The ITC Geneva ranked Zimtrade #1 in Africa out of the TPOs that were assessed, and also 10th in the world. So those are the processes that they assessed, and those are the results, which is testimony to how the quality standards have actually assisted us to improve our service provision. Right? I was talking about the issue of communication and improvement of internal processes. That is a session in which, as Zimtrade, every week on Tuesday, we call it a live on Tuesday session. Before we start our work, we meet in the boardroom as staff members, and we just select any staff member to talk about quality standards, how they've implemented them in their work area to either improve our internal processes or to better serve a client. So that's an example of the session in which one of our members is talking through our standards and how that is benefiting our clients. So some of the things that I could also emphasize that the issue of quality is at the center of all the processes. We don't treat quality as another animal, but quality is actually our everyday work. Some of the things that I would also highlight for you is that our employee engagement has really improved. Now at 59.3%. Practitioners in that sector will tell you that that's a very high score. We also have got what we call non-conformances in quality standards. They've actually internally, we do our internal audits just to assess ourselves, how we are doing against the standard. And they've reduced by 33%, which is a significant drop. Externally, we get assessed by our certification board, Standards Association of Zimbabwe. And in terms of our NCs, they've actually also reduced by 82%. They now average about 2 or 3 only in any audit that they conduct, which is testimony to the importance of the QMS system. Right. In terms of the standards, it talks about the issues of continual improvement. You don't rest because you've done well, but you want to aspire to be continually improving. So we have our performance measurement tools that we have. That's a tool for tracking our results. We've got what we call management review meeting that we have each and every quarter to assess our performance. So that shows our targets and where we are and where we are going. So on the far left, that RAG status will tell you the things that are in green. This is where we are on track or we've done well. Those in amber, we are on track, but they need to be looked at. And red, those are areas that are that needs quick attention because they are lagging behind. Right? Again, that's a corporate dashboard, which at a glance, you can see the organization. We are again continually improving it to make sure that our processes are up to date and are meeting the best standards in the world. Again, that's an extension of the measurement. That's a risk map, which also, again, at a glance, it will tell you the affairs in the organization. That's a risk heat map, which we also utilize to measure our risk status. Apologies, my technology is not displaying up. Okay, just now to quickly just talk about the impact on our clients, just to give you the numbers, I think the numbers are important. You realize that because of the issue of implementation of quality standards, we now have fit-for-purpose solutions to serve our exporting clients. Our clients with properly assessed needs has improved from 60% to 91%. So we can now better service our clients because we know what they need. Net Promoter Score, now 43%. This talks about what the next client or the next person whether they can refer Zimtrade in terms of the service that they require. Customer satisfaction now at about 66%, which is also a huge jump. I've talked about DCPs or partners that we are working with, PUM, SES, Department of International Trade, TradeCom. Those are all partners that we are working with. And that has increased because of the issue of being certified and implementing the standards. Right. I'll skip some of the slides. I don't know what's happening. Let me. I think there's something wrong with the technology. Maybe I could just quickly round off. Yeah, I wanted this slide, which is where we are working with PUM and SES PUM is from Netherlands, SES is from Germany. And these are retired experts. We signed MOUs with these two organizations. These are retired experts who actually go on the factory floor, on the upcoming exporters and also the other existing exporters. They work with them, providing one-on-one knowledge to those exporters. And through these programs, we've actually seen huge cost reduction in terms of the cost to exporters. We've also seen huge improvement in terms of the product quality and improvement of their processes. These are initiatives that Zimtrade is working. So far we've had about over 120 sessions that have been arranged to come up with that. Again, this is Zimtrade way in eastern Zimbabwe with avocado farmers and pineapple farmers. Now, because we are talking about the issue of standards and technical barriers to trade, because these farmers are pursuing certification, it then is opening export markets even for small-scale farmers. They can now be able to tap into export markets that were previously not unreachable to them because they are now certified. These ones want to be certified in terms of organic certification. So, in a nutshell, we are saying if we pursue standards, it's an opportunity for us as countries, but also as SADC, to open a huge export market for our region. Lastly, those are our various awards that we have received. I think I told you last year we were in Namibia. Right. My last word is from this gentleman, Henry Ford. Quality means doing it right when no one is looking. That's my closing word. That's the hallmark of quality. You have to do it right when no one is looking, which means you are following the right processes. On that note, I'd want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing quality culture and quality benefit in Zimtrade. Actually, that award was this year, Mr. Maruf. The award was this year in Namibia, not last year. Yeah. Thank you. We are running out of time, but let's try so that we catch up. I would like to invite Mr. Jeff to share us his experience. Please, could you be a little bit faster? Yeah. Thank you.
honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, a good morning again to you all. It's indeed a privilege to come and share some of our life experiences with you. And as you can see, I want to tell you a story because as Africans, I really believe that we are good at storytelling. So let me entertain you with the story of our life as it started way back when. Because standards and quality is from theory to a way of life. And some of the previous speakers has already alluded to it. Quality is not an afterthought. Quality is a way of life. And so we say that we as a company, yes, it's on. I think so. Can you hear me all? Thank you very much. It is built on passion. What we do is built on passion because we honestly believe that the way and how we do it serves a purpose not for our company only, but also for our country and the rest of the world. Let me start off with where we started off. We started off in 1990. Our first break came in approximately 2000 when we started with a huge contract to supply Boeing with parts for the interior and cabins. And that grew into 2003, where we started to supply aircraft parts for both Airbus and Safran, and we continued to supply parts for Boeing. And in 2007, we started with Airbus Defense and Industry, where we became a risk-sharing development partner in the development of the A400 transport aircraft. We designed, industrialized, and manufacture still the cargo liners and the cockpit linings for those aircraft. And not to say the least, in 2018, we started with the reorganization to also become a more worldly organization built on quality and standards. Looking at our company, we have approximately 660 employees. We turn around $30 million per year. We've got customers, as I've said, Airbus, Boeing, where we are first-tier suppliers. That means that we produce the part that actually delivered and installed on the aircraft in Seattle and in Europe. But we're also second-tier suppliers, where we provide parts that goes into the aircraft at subcontractor level, and they deliver the parts then to the final production and assembly lines. And in the bottom of the slide, you can see that we've also been privileged to be awarded a SADC Trade Award in 2018, and that's exactly why I'm here, to come and share some of our experiences with you. The parts we manufacture ranges from simple sheet metal parts to extremely high technology composite and fiber reinforced parts. And just to give you an idea of what some of these parts look like. On the top left-hand corner, you see something that is called a tracker, and it sits on the wing of an aircraft. And yesterday when I flew in from Johannesburg, and as we took off from our international airport there, I was extremely proud because we flew in an A320 aircraft, and I was sitting just aft of the wing, and I saw that these flaps were extracting, and I realized that one of the products that we made in our factory is sitting in that aircraft, and that makes us feel safe, and we know that we will fly and we will reliably touch down in Dar es Salaam. Those are the other parts. Some of those parts came in as flat sheet metal parts. We form them, we heat treat them, we shape them, and we assemble into sub-assemblies. And one day when you're in South Africa and close to Pretoria, you're more than welcome to come and visit the factory, because we are proudly South African and we would like to share whatever we do with you guys. So let's quickly have a look at our market reality. In our marketplace, we have a 40% annual increase in production rates. And they force us to continuously drive down on price, as always. And these are market parameters that we cannot really handle very well unless we have a quality and a standardized system so that we can know where to reasonably cut prices without sacrificing on quality and without risking processes and procedures and standards. Given that we are in an extremely regulated environment, and as a side remark, they are still busy trying to engineer a parking spot for aircraft way up in the air. They've not managed to do so. So unless the parts that goes into the aircraft is of high quality, they are most likely to be loss of lives, and I don't think we are tolerant of those conditions. So our customers are in North America and Europe at this point in time, and in this very regulated marketplace, it is sad to say that we cannot procure any materials other than from those countries. So all the materials that we produce or use in our factories are imported from either North America or Europe. It goes into our environment, and we produce the parts, and we fly out all those parts back into North America and Europe. All within the constraints and the realms of standards and quality. So what we have done to achieve this quality and the standards is that we've decided to integrate all our business systems. And this thing is running away now. It's trying to catch up on time, but bear with me. So our manufacturing execution, our quality management system, our HR system, our procurement system, all these systems are fully integrated, because by doing that, we will not sacrifice on the quality of data interchange between these systems. So we don't like to retype the same piece of information over and over. We want to reduce the risk. And some of the previous speakers already alluded to the reduction of risk if you have a proper quality system. Looking at our environment is we have a customer, and we have our business, and we have a supplier. And as I explained previously, in our environment, our customers impose on us very, very strict regulations. But on top of that, they also impose those regulations and rules and standards on the suppliers of material, because there's a word in our environment called, apologies for this, there's called traceability. So, this thing is way too fast. I just want to go back 2 slides. Apologies for this. As you can see on that one, let me just stand to the side here. Our customers impose on us very rigid standards. And they go so far as to impose all those standards to the level of the material suppliers. And what they coin that as is traceability. So whenever we produce a part and deliver it to our customer, they want to know at which mill run, on what day was this sheet of material produced, and through what processes did your factory process that material before you deliver that part into our environment. And that's why they also do very, very rigid and stringent compliance verification. And this is the dilemma that we sit in. So we are really the ham in the sandwich. You can hardly move if you want to trade with the Airbuses and the Boeings of the world. Those are the rules of engagement with those particular customers. So just digging into a little bit deeper into our business, we believe that any business has like 3 gears that must be continuously be matched in preferably turning in the same or opposite directions. Otherwise, you'll have a recipe for a disaster. One of the first gears in that is people and departments. And the first speaker from the university alluded to the importance of having quality people understanding what they do and why they must do it as a contributing factor to total quality and total standards. The other portion of it is processes and procedures, documented procedures, so that somebody can walk into a department at any given point in time, take out a procedural manual and say, this is how I must do this particular job. There's no gray area. It is, this is how we do it. and that's why we do it like this. And last but not least, we also have tools and infrastructure that all subscribe and are all subordinate to standards and quality processes. Even onto our product. We also believe that product and quality, standards and quality is a way of life. You cannot inspect quality into any product. Inspection as a means is only a safety net to prevent faulty product from leaving your factory. That's all. If you don't have quality in the heart and in the blood and the veins of people working with the product, understanding why those standards are so important, you will have a workforce of only quality inspectors and no workforce of doing the work. And it also goes through into checking and making sure that the raw material that you work with is of the proper and correct standard. You've seen a different version of this from a previous speaker, and it all starts off with a customer. The customer that has a desire or a need for a particular product, and they impose on you this requirement in terms of a specification or a long worded document, and that goes into your quality management system. But in the end, you deliver a product, and then you must measure customer satisfaction. And there must be a quality management system, and there must be a commitment from management and all the people in the realms of a quality environment that says plan, do, check, and adjust. Ongoing. It is not a once-off, let's implement it and run with it. It's an ongoing way of life to ensure that you will have 100% customer satisfaction. And I'm so glad that the previous speaker alluded to that they actually measure that. And so do we. We measure our customer experience and their satisfaction, because that's how we know that we are delivering a quality product to them. In order to check and make sure that we are true to what we say, we not only have audits by our customers, apart from our internal audits, we also have independent international organizations like, and again this thing is jumping the gun, like IASA, NatCap, to measure and confirm and check on behalf of the customers that we are compliant in terms of all our processes, all our procedures, going from people and departments through to processes and procedures, through to tools and infrastructure. All the elements of our gearbox are well oiled, and they have the authorization and the job to verify and check on behalf of the customers and give the stamp of approval and say, yes, you can trust them. So let's change gears and say, why standards and why quality? What is the role of quality and standards for the industrialization of SADC? And when I did the sort of Dr. Google research in the preparation, I was astonished to see the huge block of countries that belongs to SADC. But what is alarming is that you see a lot of white lines on that. And those white lines represent geographical borders. But we all know that the world today is becoming virtual borderless. And this is exactly what we want to achieve with standards and quality. If you look at a brief highlight or a perspective of business, we see business as a value chain of suppliers to my business itself becoming a supplier to somebody else. And on top of having quality within the businesses and across the boundaries between businesses, we also believe that governments and organizations such as SADC must cultivate and provide an environment in which these standards and quality can be applied so that we can become a borderless environment, especially in our region, but also internationally. Some of the focuses and the approaches to standards, the principles, it is customer focused. It is not who I am, but what my customer wants from me. It is about leadership. It is about the involvement of people, getting people trained up and upskilled so that they can perform at their best to a known standard and to the desired quality. There's a process approach systems approach in management. And last but not least that I want to stay with is continual improvement. It's plan, do, check, and adjust. And again, plan, do, check, and adjust. And again, plan, do, check, and adjust. Ongoing. Because you can never kill the cycle of quality. It's a quality circle. And the advantages of having quality and quality systems and standards in your organization far outweighs the disadvantages. For the lack of saving some time, I will not want to read all this, so let's skip through this quickly. But there are some advantages and a few disadvantages. But we believe that standards and quality is the key to trade. The key to trade between companies within the same country, but also companies within the SADC region and eventually across all the boundaries and borders of the globe, so that we can become a total and truly international region that supplies product of a known standard so that people can trust us, knowing what the quality is that we deliver and what is the standard. I thank you for your time, and just as a reminder, if you really want to think and remind yourself of quality, whenever you fly again in an Airbus or Boeing aircraft, believe it that there's a small company in the southern tip of Africa that supplies parts to those reputable international companies as part of their aircraft systems, and we are proudly South African. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are coming toward our conclusion, but before that, we are going to hear two more speakers. We start by inviting Mr. David and the Honorable Minister, but they don't have PowerPoint presentation, but they also will share with us the experience. Mr. David, please. I'll give you no more than 10 minutes.
Thank you. I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. Though I came late due to different challenges that still have been squeezed into the program so that I could also share our experience as Zambia as well as the company community market for conservation. First, I would like to thank the SADC Secretariat for arranging this program so that we could share, as well as the quality awards that were designed to encourage us as companies so that we can work extra hard in terms of implementing quality systems. So I do not have a presentation, but briefly what we'll discuss is I would want to just share a brief background of the company that I come from, Community Market for Conservation, or COMACO. Then after that, I would like just briefly to also share with you the model that we use, some of the products that we've produced, and also the quality standards that we've implemented, and likely I'll also share the benefits of implementing such systems. So let me start with the background information. Maybe I want just to briefly share with you the information that you already know about Zambia. Zambia is a land-linked country with somewhere in the middle of the SADC region. Tanzania being one of its neighbors, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Angola, Namibia, Congo DR. All those are the immediate neighbors. And you may want to remember that the population of Zambia is about 18 million. And the major two economic activities is mining and agriculture. So we work mostly with the agriculture sector. So COMACO itself, Community Market for Conservation, is a company that works with small-scale farmers. Currently, we work with 180,000 small-scale farmers in about 5 provinces of Zambia. Out of the 10, we work with 5 provinces of Zambia. Our objective as a company is both to produce products that are safe and of high quality, but on the other hand, we want to use the smart agriculture where we conserve the environment, we conserve wildlife, as well as conserve the soil, the air, and the water, so that agriculture does not damage any of these things. Maybe just the background why we work with those 2 objectives is how we started. In Zambia, somewhere in the late 80s and 90s, we had the challenge of poaching. And more especially, there's a river called the Luangwa River, both the eastern side and western side, there are a lot of national parks. And it's in those areas where poaching was taking place. And of course, indeed, people were also carrying out charcoal burning. So our worry as a company was that they were going to deplete all these animals and also going to finish all these forests. So we came up with a model. And that's the model that we have been using to reach where we are today. First, we realized that what caused people to be doing those things was that they were poverty-stricken. They didn't have money. They were not economically stable, and they were also not financially stable. They didn't have food, they didn't have money. So our model was to give them alternative livelihood so that they don't go back to cutting down trees or killing those animals. And one of the things that quickly came into our mind was that we can teach people to do agriculture. And as soon as they do agriculture, they could sell whatever they've produced. And as a result, they will have food security as well as economic security. And that's how we started. However, we later realized that even if people would produce that much, they had nowhere to take the excess produce that they were making. So they would still want to find extra income by going back to their old ways. So we came up with a company which would buy the excess crop from these farmers. And the first crops that we were buying were rice. Then we started buying groundnuts. We also started buying soybeans as well as maize from all the farmers that we had trained to grow those crops. Ourselves would add value to those products and then start selling them as value-added commodities. So that's the model. We would buy from these farmers at a premium price where we are above the market price of most of the buyers, such that they are motivated to carry out conservation without killing animals and without using chemicals in their form of agriculture. So those products that we are making, we had to find a market for them. And later, we realized that actually just producing was not enough. We needed to have quality products, as it were. So starting in 2009, we started implementing quality systems. And we started from simple systems called good manufacturing practices. And we teach even the farmers good agricultural practices. And from these, we were able to produce crops and products that would fetch a better price on the market. We started processing products, and some of the products that we make include peanut butter. We dry some of the fruits that they make, such as dried mangoes. We polish the rice. We make corn soy blend. We make poultry feed. And all these are made purely from the produce produced by the small-scale farmers. So as a result, we are able to sustain the 108,000 small-scale farmers in these provinces, and we are also able to sell whatever they have produced. So how has implementing quality, how has it helped us as a company? Well, because we have implemented quality systems, we've been able to sell some of the products that we make, not only in Zambia, in the leading supermarkets, but also in some of the neighboring countries, some such as Botswana, as well as South Africa. So we're able to sell to them both the raw materials as well as the finished products that we are making as Komako. The other benefits that we've driven from that is that we are able to trace whatever we are producing from the farmers themselves up to the point where we are selling to the consumers. And just like what my other colleagues have mentioned, we are able to get customer feedback, and most of the customers are happy with the products that we are selling to them. So some of the systems that we have implemented includes the HACCP system, which is similar to the ISO 9000, which was already mentioned. And we have upgraded also to ISO 22000, which currently is our highest standard that we have as a company. We are also happy that we were recognized for implementing these systems, not only by Zambia, but as well as by SADC, so that we were invited to be part of the SADC Awards. And last year, we were given an award under the SMEs. So our goal is to go even higher in terms of quality, but to engage even more farmers so that these farmers can conserve wildlife as well as the environment and contribute to the reduction of global warming rather than contributing to it by cutting down of trees and killing of wildlife. With these few remarks, I would like to end here, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. At this time, I would like our Honorable Minister to give some key intervention on his experience on this matter, and we close our session. Thank you, Honorable Minister. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Mr. Cesario Benjamin. I think you're doing very well in English, although you said it's not your first language. And I also try also to use bilingual, because the interpreters have been doing a great job there. I've been listening Swahili, French, Portuguese, and of course English. So I'll be bilingual in the short intervention that you gave me. I would like to take this opportunity to commend and congratulate all the presenters for very great presentation, and I'm sure the whole audience has learned something new from their presentation. You'll agree with me. If you agree with me, a big round of applause for them, please. Thank you very much. I'll try to make my intervention on each presenter and leave a very short question at the end of how we as a region can benefit. I'm from a very small area in this region called Zanzibar, and for those of you who didn't get that opportunity, President Magufuli, in his speech, when he was delivering his speech here during the opening ceremony, he invited everyone to Zanzibar, and I'm stressing on the same point. If you have not visited Zanzibar, please take this opportunity to visit Zanzibar. You are all welcome. And that is part of my job I'm doing daily as well, to promote Zanzibar via tourism, because I'm a minister also for tourism. Secondly, in this intervention, I would like, as I said, I can express myself better in Kiswahili, so I'll be bilingual for the interpreters there who are doing commendable job to help me. I'll start with a presentation by my brother, Tanzanian brother, Mr. Lazaro. He spoke about very much going international through Tanzania Bureau of Standards, which is our main standards body. I was very moved to hear that you are working very closely with TFDA, Tanzania Food and Drug Authority. This can be a very good model for other SADC countries also, between the regulators who are regulating the standards and also the regulators who are regulating the food and drug commodities as well. And in Zanzibar, we have ZFDA, Zanzibar Food and Drug Authority, and also we have our own ZBS in Zanzibar, which is working very closely with TBS, as you mentioned. One item which I would like to leave with you as a question, and for the benefit of the audience, is how much have you done your efforts to these small and medium enterprises, because they are the biggest part of the population. If you go outside in the exhibition, yesterday I went there in the exhibition, I bought some very good chilies, and I recommend that you should also look at that. There's nice chilies, there's masala tea, there's very nice coffee, there is very nice cashew nuts, one of the best in the world. But these people, if you look at the back of the pack, they don't have a TBS logo. And they're not privileged to sit with us in this room. And they're the biggest chunk of our population. Zamani tulikuwa naita walala hoi. Wao pia inabidi wasaidiwe. Ni muhimu sana, lazima wasaidiwe. We need to help them, to take them to the next level, because they are more than 85 to 90% of the population. In Zanzibar, ZBS has started something, is a temporary code. You will correct me, those who are coming from the Ministry of Trade and Industries. There's a temporary code which they've started. It's an interim code taking you from SME, getting to the top of TBS, getting those standards which you can export. And if we rely, I'm sorry for European friends of mine who are here, but if you rely on European standards, etc., they've set up very, very high standards. That's why most of our fish, although we have one of the best fish in our oceans, but we can not export to Europe because of the highest standards set. And these standards need a lot of investment. Dr. Abhishek, you said about investment required in getting to the level of quality assurance and standards. And these investments are quite high to invest, and we are getting there as a developing nation. I must recommend everybody in this room to read this SADC Industrialization Strategic Roadmap. It's a very good document, and it expires in 2063. So calculate your age, you will know exactly how old you are going to be in 2063, each one of you. This is going to expire in 2063, and it's a very, very good strategic document that touches all these subjects. So my question, which I'll leave to my brother from TBS, how are we helping? How are we promoting? There's a very nice session at Mikumi at 14:30 today on SME, SADC and SME. I wish I intended that one before this one first, but it's to take them because otherwise we'll continue to have this all the time, SMEs, young entrepreneurs, etc. We'll be just talking theory, but not talking about our region. And second one is we've been doing quite well in the north, especially your border points in the north, because we have another regional body in the north. It's called EAC, East African Community, and we are here in SADC. And SADC is, for our border, is mostly south, if you look at the map. How much are we going to promote southern corridor for the trade to interact rather than having a lot of barriers removing? And finally is about educating the public, creating awareness to the public, campaigning to the public that there are a lot of products that we have that we can export into the south. We have not really explored the markets into the south. All our focus is in the north, you know, Dubai and the north of Africa and other areas, Far East, etc. When there's a big market also in the south that we can explore. So I would like to know TBS, the role that they are playing. I think it will be beneficial for the audience in this room. And then finally, of course, your cooperation with other bodies who are promoting our product. You set a good example. There is TANTRADE, there is CEOs Roundtable, there is National Business Council, there is the TIC, there is CTI, Confederation of Tanzanian Industry, etc. You know, how do we cooperate, all of us together, to reach to this target? Commendable job for all the presenters. I would like to commend the presentation from Dr. Abhishek Ranjan from Boto University. It's an excellent, and I must admit I've learned a great deal. But I wanted to know also, in your curriculum there at Boto University, do you teach your students or your scholars on how they can benefit about these regional tariffs? Because they're not very well known, they're not very accessible. We need to give our people more access so that they can use more. I feel East African community tariff are more accessible than SADC, and I think the best place to start is at these education centers. So how much of that do you teach to your students, and how much of that can get? But secondly, you never spoke about how your university, Boto University, can benefit other member states of SADC. You didn't do that marketing pitch of how people can access those courses, how I have a ministry that I'm running, I have information sector, I have broadcasting sector, I've got tourism sector, I've got heritage sector. I would like to know more from you, and I'm sure the audience would like to know more from you. How easy are you accessible? How easy are these courses accessible? How can these people attend those training? Are you doing tailor-made training for this specific area of quality? Everybody needs quality assurance. I think you can, if you highlight about that, it will add a lot of value to the great presentation that you did here today. Next is to my brother from Zimbabwe, Brother Tendai Marufu. You have a very good model, and I think that model should be for all of us in Africa. I think your model resembles TanTrade model, if I'm not mistaken. Your counterpart in Tanzania will be TanTrade, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm mistaken. And TanTrade has been doing a great job. We have this Saba, we have Nane Nane, we have Tisa Tisa, and the rest. You know, all these maoneshos are there. And TanTrade is actively participating in that. And we see a lot of benefits. We see a lot of exposure. I'm more concerned about the 85 to 90% again of the population. The mamantilie who are making the chili for the nyama choma in Zimbabwe, for example. The mamantilie who are making the spices, the masala tea, etc. In TanTrade, they have a particular space. They have their own particular space, they have their own particular forum, and the government, both governments, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania and the government of the Revolutionary Government of Zanzibar, supports them by incentivizing, by subsidizing, by providing them all these facilities to attend those shows. And my brother, I must tell you, some of them have got excellent products, excellent, but they lack that level of reaching the quality, because these people, TBS, they have a lot of forms to fill. They have about 20, 30 forms with certification. You know, for a poor woman who's sitting there outside, it's complicated to fill those forms. They cannot fill. They need help. They need assistance to fill those forms. And let's make it easy for them to reach to the level. So I wanted to know, do you have that kind of program like the way TanTrade is doing marvelous? Our ministry, both ministries of trade and industries, are doing a marvelous job of assisting these small producers. I don't know what you call them. I'm sure you have a local name for them in Zim, but a platform for them. I think if you would have told us about that, would add a lot of value also to your presentation. Last but one, to Mr. Jeff. Your second name is very difficult. Esterhusen? Did I get it right? I think it's a very good presentation and a commendable job. We are proudly Africans, as you say in South Africa, proudly South African, that today we have a company in Africa that is providing to the big players, Airbus and Boeing in the world. I think that is great. But I wanted to ask you, from your market research, Africa, especially our region, SADC region, most of the aircraft being used are aircraft that can access those airstrips. They call them airstrips. And the biggest market here is caravan. I know because I come from that industry. Have you looked into that market? I'll tell you something. President Magufuli, when he was delivering his speech, touched the subject of tourism. In Tanzania mainland, we have 1.5 million tourists a year. In Zanzibar, 530,000 tourists a year. Our main GDP driver is becoming slowly tourism. After agriculture and minerals, tourism is coming up as our main driver. We are blessed. We have safari, we have the top safaris, Tarangire, Ngorongoro, Manyara, you name it. And all these tourists, their main access is via caravans after they land with these big Airbus and Boeing aircraft. Have you looked into that market? Can caravans get access to your parts in Africa? Are there enough service centers for caravans? In Tanzania, I was just looking at the internet, there are 200 caravans registered already. But they are saying through the authorities that by year 2050, this number might quadruple, might be 4 times. So this region, connectivity between here, Kenya, Uganda, all the SADC regions, can be caravan in future. Can be caravan. And accessing all these tourism market airstrips. They are carrying, I was trying to get the number of flights at Dar es Salaam airport by caravans. They are more than international flights. So local and regional flights is more. Have you looked into that market of these smaller aircraft for what is realistic for our region? And finally, South Africa is a big player. If you look at the statistics and GDP per capita income, it plays in the league of BRICS. It is in the league of BRICS. So it's a very good example for us and for what is written in this booklet towards poverty alleviation. I think South African model is a very good model. So I wanted to say that one. The last presenter, I couldn't say much. I think it's a great presentation. I wish we had your slides, but unfortunately there wasn't much. I would like once again to thank the SADC Secretariat for giving me this opportunity to share my views with all of you in this room. But on quality-wise, especially from the presenters here, let's also focus on the pulling effect of our biggest chunk of communities and people who are at the lower level to get to that standards that are required in our region. Asante sana and hongera sana, Secretariat, for putting these very, very amazing presentations together for our region. Asante sana.
Thank you, Minister. I wish we could have time to discuss a little bit, but this room has been booked for another session. I would invite all who are interested in finding out more about the presentation. Maybe we can interact directly with the presenters during the break. Before we close, there's an announcement for tea. The announcement says that all VIPs, meaning the ministers, deputy ministers, chief executive officers, directors, and senior officers are invited to have their tea in Kilimanjaro room. So they should exit using this exit here. There is an officer there who can lead them. The rest of us, we use the normal entrance or exit to go out, and we get coupons there, and we go to a room called Morun. Is it Morun? Mikumi, yeah. Thank you for attending these sessions, and we hope to see you in near future.